Hi everyone, this video will be about square and cube equations. So this will be about equations using our squares, numbers, square roots, cube numbers, and cube roots. So first, the objective is I can solve equations in the form x squared equals p, where p is just a whole number, rational number, and x cubed equals p is just a whole rational number, using square and cube roots. So we're going to be just looking at things with squares and cubes, square roots, cube roots, and equations. So first, a quick review on equations. An equation says that two things are equal. So one side of the equation is equal to the other side. The values are equal. And we use, we use an equal sign to show that the two sides are equal. So an equation is like a statement that's like, this equals that. So for example, 7 plus 2 is 9 is equal to 10 minus 1, which is also 9. So both sides are the same. Sorry. And then we can solve equations if we have an unknown or x. X we use to show that we have an unknown number. So we can solve an equation for x by using inverse operations or just opposite operations. So opposites are addition is the opposite of subtraction, and multiplication is the opposite of division. So in this equation, x plus 2 equals 5, we want both sides to be the same or to have the same value. So we can use an inverse operation to get x by itself. That's the goal, get x by itself. So if I have x plus 2, then if I subtract 2 from both sides, because that's the inverse, then my plus 2 and minus 2 equals 0, and 5 minus 2 is 3, and I still have an x on this side, so x equals 3. If I put this x back into the equation, x plus, 3 plus 2 equals 5. That is true. Both sides have a value of 5. So our inverse operations for what we're talking about in this unit are squares and square roots. They are opposites. So if I square a number, I can undo it or do the inverse by square rooting. So we can show this with this little, not formula, little statement here, that the square root of a number, x, a number squared, is equal to that number. So this is because the square root and the squared are inverses of each other. They're opposites, so they cancel each other out. So this squared root and this squared cancel each other out, and I'm just left with the x. And then over here, the cube root of x cubed equals x, because cube root and cubed cancel each other out, so I'm just left with x. Let's see some examples. All right, solve each equation for x. So in the first one, the square root of x equals 6. So the square root of what number equals 6? Maybe you know that off the top of your head, but let's do steps that involve that. The square root of x equals 6. I want to get x by itself. So to get rid of this square root sign, I have to square both sides of the equal sign, both sides of the equation. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. So the square root of x squared equals 6 squared. Now my square root and my squared cancel each other out. And on the left, I'm just left with x. And on the right, I'm left with 6 squared. So x equals 6 squared. You could leave it like that, or we can keep simplifying and say that 6 squared, or 6 times 6, equals 36. Yay! Here's the next one. The x squared equals 4. So what number squared equals 4? Maybe you know that off the top of your head, but we want to do the steps out. Do the steps out because that will help you understand it more. So the opposite of squaring a number is taking the square root. So let's take the square root of both sides of the equation. Then the square root and the squared cancel each other out, and I'm left with x equals the square root of 4. You need to write out every step. it's really important that you write out all the steps. So take a second right now, pause the video, and hold on. It's really important that you write all the steps out. So take a second to pause and write out all the steps. All right, and then finally, the square root of 4 equals 2. So x equals 2. All right, and finally, let's do cube roots. So x cubed equals 512. All right, we're going to take the square root of both sides of the equation. Take the square root of both sides. I mean the cube root. Take the cube root of both sides. So now on the left, my cube root. My cube root and my cubed cancel each other out, and I'm left with x equals the cube root of 512. This is one way to leave it, and we can also, do the math out a little bit. The cube root of 512 is 8. But it's really important that you get to this step first. Okay, so make sure you write that down. And then the cube root of x equals 3. Well, to undo cube rooting, we want to get x by itself. We cube both sides. So the cube root of x cubed equals 3 cubed. Now my cube root and my cubed cancel each other out, and I'm left with x equals 3 cubed. 3 cubed is 27. So it's really important that we write down all the steps. Even if it seems simple, as you go through in math and stuff, it gets more complicated. So it's good to practice writing everything out now. Okay, bye.